Hello and welcome back to Interjections International Break Edition. But don't you worry, still plenty to talk about, whether it be Italy's collapse, Juve apparently firing Thiago Motta, or just Inter's Mercato. That's what we're going to cover today. Miko, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm pretty fine and calm. As you said, no inter games now, so not that much excitement. And there was, apart from these uh, qualifier games, which are not that exciting, maybe at least for Finland, we barely managed to beat Malta away in a away match. Win is a win, but that was pretty terrible. And from what I saw a little about the Italy's not a qualifier, but was it like a Nations League semi-final against Germany? That wasn't any better. But yeah, pretty calm, pretty nice. Nothing to complain.
I know we have listeners from Malta, so I'm rooting with them in solidarity. So glad they give Finland a hard time.
Yeah.
Jay, how's your evening going?
Any enemy of Finland is a friend of mine. So Forza Malta. There's a big Maltese contingent in Australia. Forza the Maltese Australians. And just all-round Forza for everyone.
We successfully traded in our successful brown man for an even more successful brown man. Gautam, Blue Nine, back on the podcast. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Everything is good. Hello, everyone. Glad to be back here.
Irfan claims he's unavailable to children, but we all know he's just intimidated by Gautam's presence.
Hindustani rivalry going on there.
I'm manufacturing it into existence.
That's right.
I want to start with the Juve stuff because this is what's hot on the news cycle right now. This is what's on the Twitter feeds. I don't understand the timing of this at all. So I'm going to be curious to get your guys' thoughts because normally you'd want to sack a manager before an international break to give him 2 weeks with whatever players remain in the squad. I don't know what's going on at Juve, but there were reports they were going to give him one more game, him being Motta, for financial reasons. And then it comes out that they're negotiating with Mancini, and Mancini is their preferred option at manager. Hard pivot away from that, and now Tudor is the guy, and apparently Tudor is the guy with an eye towards signing Conte in the summer, poaching him away from Napoli. So approaching circus levels at Juventus, and this is all in the backdrop of what's been another disappointing season for them. There were some truthers, including one on this podcast, who was pushing forward a Juve Scudetto propaganda campaign after they got a little hot, but then they go out and they lose 7-0 combined between matches against Atalanta and Fiorentina. Their ability to secure a Champions League spot is really up in the air at this point. Bologna are looking really strong. Juve on the outside looking in. So they're going for the dead cat bounce. They're hoping a change of manager can get them into that lucrative Champions League spots. But I just have to question the timing of this decision. And if I'm looking at the problem with Juve, I'm going to start with what was a massive amount of money invested and a small amount of input in their summer mercato last season. So Jay, what are your thoughts on Thiago Motta apparently being on his way out of Juventus?
My thoughts are Thiago Motta, Mancini, or Ego Tudor. They're still beating us, so it doesn't really matter. All jokes aside, I mean, look, the more chaos at Juve, the better. And to put a inter-centric focus on it, it's all the more reason that we should take advantage of this current moment where our rivals are busy being shitheads, but being shitheads ourselves, we just seem to refuse to really consolidate the power vacuum at the top, where Milan and Juve are having some, going through a transitional period. So that's always the kind of ongoing frustration for me. But yeah, I'm not too concerned about Juve as a title challenger in the short-term run. Reason being that it takes time to change the culture of a club. It takes time to change the playing style of a club, and for a manager to perfect their tactical system and buy the players they need, get rid of the players that don't fit their system. And I still feel that Juve are light years away from playing the kind of modern football that wins you titles these days. You look at other championship teams in Europe, and most of them tend to be playing the best football in their respective nations. And Juve are so far away from that it's not funny. I think even Milan are much closer, to be honest.
Gautam, I know you're a fellow Mancini truther in terms of his spell at Inter. You maybe think more fondly of him than a lot of Inter fans because as the Mancini discussions have resurfaced, all the people who have always been critical of Mancini are kind of crawling out of their woodworks. So what would your perspective have been if Mancini would have joined Juve?
I'm so glad Mancini is not joining Juve because you know from a as you know, I'm a big believer in Mancini. I think he's a brilliant coach. I think he's done wonders at Inter in his first spell, and then at City, and then for he made this Italy win the Euros. I mean, in between two World Cup qualification mishaps, he made this Italy win the Euros. I mean, that's a huge achievement. So I'm a big believer in Mancini, and I think the Juventus squad right now is very well set up for someone like Mancini. I think it suits his tactics very well. So I'm very glad that he is now looking not in the picture for the Juventus job, and it's looking more like it's going to be today. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the problems that I see at Juventus is when you have it's probably the only club in Italy which has money to invest. They invested almost 200 million in the squad this year. When you invest so much money in your squad, I don't know why you put all your faith in a rookie coach. Why not get a seasoned coach, someone who's already been a proven winner, who can then create a squad for you with that money, which works, create a system which works. For Motta, I think this was, it's pretty unfair to ask him to build a squad from scratch when he's never done something like this before in his life. So I think I'm a bit surprised that they're letting him go now. That also after the international break, because Juventus usually are a club which you know give a manager a season at least, and usually make decisions during the summer break. So I'm kind of very surprised by this move of waiting till end of the international break and then changing the manager for just the remaining part of the season. I think Juventus look confused. It's brilliant. This is how we want them to be.
Miko, as you reflect on Juve's Mercato last summer, they were actually linked to a lot of guys we wanted. They ended up signing a few of them, including Cabal. Is there anyone you look at from their previous Mercato as thinking, wow, Inter dodged the bullet, or man, I wish we would have signed that guy?
Which were the other guys? I don't actually remember apart from Cabal. Which guys we missed, or who did they sign?
Thiago Giallo.
Right, yeah, that was a year ago. And now he's...
And Gregorio, the goalkeeper, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think he was linked to us at any point. Or was he? Maybe he was. But
yeah, there were soft
shortly.
links to Gregorio.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. He was good at
There's
the start
also
of the season. Yeah.
Sorry, Thuram's brother also is someone we were softly linked with. I wouldn't say it was like a hard link, but people were saying we'd be interested in him.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, Thuram was the guy I could see at Inter and doing well at Inter. But apart from that, no regrets at all. I guess Giallo could have been good. Maybe it didn't work at Juve at all, and now I believe he's at Porto, or where did he go on loan or something? And yeah, I think the Mercato, it felt that it was good, but then they just couldn't pull it together at all. Like Gautam mentioned, it was a bit unfair for Motta that he gets so many new players there, and then it's kind of the level of competition is at the moment quite good at Serie A, that you need to, you can't suck this much. Okay, Motta hasn't done well at all. He's been pretty terrible, but in a sense now, like looking afterwards, it was a bit of a mess with the Mercato, how Giuntoli handled all this. And of course the expectation is that they would make at least the top four. Now it's kind of a risk, can they do it or not, and that I guess that's the reason why they are sacking Motta. But nevertheless, yeah, there wasn't too many regrets. Maybe the Turan, but that was never kind of as you said, it was just a soft link, and we probably didn't have that much kind of interest in him. Maybe we should have, but that's another story.
So maybe to put a capper on the Motta discussion, as you look at this, Jay, so Motta obviously got Bologna to the Champions League last year. He's leaving Juve outside of a Champions League spot. His old club actually holding that last Champions League spot. So as you look at his managerial career, where do you think this guy falls? Do you think he gets another shot at a European competition club in Italy? Do you think he needs to go outside the country after 3 or 4 spells inside it? What do you think Thiago Motta's career will hold?
Hard to say. I think he's a potential Conceição replacement. I think he did wonders at a young and hungry Bologna with lots of technical and sharp and pacey players, and we know that Milan is just dripping with the juices of talent, especially in the attacking department. So I think the Milan job suits him. Other than that, it's hard to imagine a job, or there is no job of a higher profile than Juve for him to take. So realistically, it means that he's probably going to have to take a step back. And what are the options in Italy? Like I said, maybe Milan. I can't imagine Lazio will let go of Barone. Ranieri's old as fuck, but he'll probably stick around at Roma at least some way into next season. And then you've got Inter. maybe Inzaghi joins the Nazionale, and then we're left with a coaching spot to fill. But no, all jokes aside, it's either somewhere like Milan or back to like the Bologna tier of teams, and maybe he can try and repeat the Bologna miracle with another team. But not a lot of options for him. Bit of a tough spell in his career. I don't really know where the best place for him is. It might be outside Italy. He has experience coaching at PSG's youth team, if I'm not mistaken, and he's young enough to develop his style of coaching to fit any other league, I think. So who knows? Maybe a move to England or another country is on the cards for him. And obviously he spent the majority of his career in Spain, let's not forget. So I'm pretty sure he knows La Liga pretty well as well. So that could be an option.
All right, let's pivot to talking about some Inter-specific things. I want to, with Gautam being guest on the podcast, I want to put him on the spot here. So Inter still very much alive in 3 competitions, 4 if you want to count the Club World Cup. Gautam, the question I'm posing to you is, by the end of this campaign, how many trophies will Inter have won?
Oh, that's a tough one to predict. I mean, personally, I would be very happy if Inter just win the Scudetto and nothing else. I mean, for me, that will be good enough for the season. In fact, that will be a brilliant season from the way we have started and the way things are going. I don't really care about the Coppa if I have to prioritize for Inter, because there are so many games, one after the other. I would wish that Inter, as they're doing so far, focus on UCL and Serie A. I would love Inter to win the Champions League, but I don't see it happening. We've played Bayern now. They will be very, very hard to beat. And even if we manage to go through, it will be Barcelona next. So, however much I'd love to see Inter win the Champions League, I don't see it. So I would say Serie A, and if we have to sacrifice Copa to win Serie A, I'm okay with that.
So what you're saying is you're okay with 5 losses against Milan in a season?
I'd much rather have 5 losses against Milan this season than lose a Scudetto getting players injured in those 2 derbies. I think the best thing Inzaghi can do is play our reserve team in those 2 derby games. I mean, those games fall right in between very key games for the Scudetto and the UCL. And the worst thing that can happen is a couple of key injuries during those games.
It's a popular opinion with Inter fans to roll out the Taremi Arnautovic striker pairing against Milan. And I think it's easy to say now when we're 2 weeks out from the match, but you just know when it's the 20th minute and we're down 1-0 to Milan, people will be upset. People will be irate because they're going to treat this like it's their Scudetto. They're going to be rolling out a full-strength squad. They're not really competing for anything at this point, maybe a Europa League spot if they're fortunate. So I guess what the point I'm trying to make is Inzaghi's going to face pressure for these matches. And I think as a result, Inzaghi's going to feel compelled to field close to a full-strength team because it is a Milan derby, because he truly has aspirations for a treble-type season. So I like the strategy of saying, hey, play the backups against Milan, but in practice, I don't think it will happen. Miko, what do you think Inzaghi's going to do strategy-wise, balancing all these competitions?
We're going to miss few players against Udinese anyway. We're going to miss Dumfries, we're going to miss Lautaro, we're going to miss Bastoni. Those are the three guys we definitely going to miss. So I could see them starting against Milan if they are okay. I think they are trying to get Lautaro ready. Dumfries is probably not ready for that match still. Bastoni red card thing for the Udinese, why he's missing that. But yeah, I'm positive Inzaghi will use the best lineup against Milan. That's just how I feel it's going to go. And I think he's going to try to save the guys against Udinese, even if I agree that that's 100% more important match in my books. But I think for Inzaghi and for the team, every match is 100% important, and they just not going to kind of do any balancing between the matches. Everything is important. They want to win it all, so they are going to select the best players. But maybe there's more kind of consideration, who's the best player in this match, the condition of the players or the fitness levels might play bigger part in these decisions now in the later part of the season when they've played already I don't know how many games, over 40 probably. So yeah, I feel it's going to be the kind of the on quotes best lineup, but what it really is the best one, that's up in the air still.
I mean, if I can just add, I mean, we rested around 6-7 players against Arsenal and City and Leverkusen, our three biggest games in the Champions League in the first half of the year. So there is scope for Inzaghi to rotate heavily in these games against Milan in the Copa. So I would be very disappointed if we are starting our main lineups here. I mean, the risk of injury, especially in a squad where we have such a thin squad. I mean, right now at the moment we have all four of our wing backs injured. So we are not in a great position to overuse some of our players in this period where there are games every three days. So there has to be rotation, and maybe the rotation will be forced on Champions League and Serie A and Copa, all of them. But there will be rotation, and I hope there is.
So, valid point that we were able to get away with substitutions against Arsenal, for instance, even though we got a point and Arsenal's obviously a better team than Milan. However, I think a few things have changed since then, primarily Taremi deteriorating even worse than he has been, and two is our just overall poor form against Milan. And Jay, I'm going to want your thoughts on the psychology of the possibility of if you over-rotate against Milan and you lose more matches to them, what that will do for this club's mental state, what that will do for the psychology of both the rest of the season and future derbies.
I talk about this all the time, but when you're talking about a rivalry between two big teams, it's not just a series of one-off meetings. It's a long-term, a war of wits, a battle of egos, and all this kind of thing. So, and that's partly why I'm so adamant that we take advantage of Milan and Juve going through transition periods to really consolidate our power at the top, because these are big teams, right? Like, all jokes aside, all pro Milan trolling aside, like Milan and Juve, these teams, they're not going to go like the fucking Leeds United way, right? These guys are too big to be shit forever. So at some point, they're going to get their shit together and they're going to be real challenges again. Look at the Pioli season 2 or 3 years ago. Just with a little bit of luck and with one game bottled by Inter, they can win a Scudetto. So it goes to show that you can't underestimate these teams. When you give them an inch of space, they'll take a yard. It just feels like the mood has shifted for everyone who out there, like Miko, who thinks that Milan are shit or whatever. Are you confident in the Coppa Italia? Are you confident if we played Milan tomorrow? Like, considering the way the last 3 games against them have gone, is any Interista really confident? And compare this to how we were 1 season ago after beating them 6 games in a row. You see how quickly the dynamic of this rivalry can change just in the span of 2 lazy performances or, half a season. It's really important that we arrest that slide immediately and return to winning ways.
I am pretty confident. I think these 2, admittedly poor results and 1 draw, which was a pretty poor result given how the match went, but I'm not seeing any tide being shifted yet. I think the last match was kind of the proof of that. Even if they got 1 point, I think they were pretty lucky. They got that 1 point. We maybe not outplayed them, but we were clearly the better side. Should have won that match, didn't won, but that's what can happen. Milan is 9th in the table at the moment. They are shit objectively. It's not even a question. They are shit. And
they're biding their time.
We drew against Monza, we drew against Genoa, so we drew against Milan. That can happen. But we are still a better side by like a country mile. And even if the results were indeed poor recently, I'm not seeing any kind of a how would I say it, kind of a mental shift at this point yet, that they would be kind of a big brother or anything like that. I still think it's the opposite. But I think these Coppa matches, they will maybe show it how it is. And maybe if Milan, let's say they win both of those matches, maybe that can change something mentally. I don't know. That could happen. Maybe that's the scenario which will like change the tide. But at the moment, I don't see it yet.
I don't want to look. We're talking about this Milan derby coming up while kind of looking past the Udinese immediate Serie A match, and I just think it's because of there's more nuance, there's more approach that needs to go into the Milan derby. Against Udinese, you know what you need to do. You need to go out with a full strength lineup back from international duty, and you need to try and get 3 points. Whereas in a 2-legged semifinal against Milan, there's just a bit more thought that goes into place. And I don't want to make it sound like we're looking past Udinese as much as it is. A Milan derby is just more compelling. It's more strategic, and that's why it deserves more of our attention. So I want to use the latter half of the pod to talk about just general Mercato stuff. I know Gautam follows the Mercato heavily, always on the forum as Blue Nine. He's keeping tabs on what's going on across Serie A, including targets for all the big clubs. And it just feels like we're going to have a significant Mercato this summer. There's a few contributing factors. One is we're doing quite well financially. So there have been reports recently that we're actually going to have money to spend for the first time in what feels like since before COVID, where we're actually going to have a transfer budget because we've earned so much money in the Champions League, because we're close to turning an operating profit, if not turning an operating profit. So facet 1 is we might actually have money to spend. Facet 2 is there's just going to need to be changes in the squad. So without going through every single player in the team, you're looking at attack. You have 2 strikers in Arnautovic and Correa who are destined to leave. A third in Taremi, who appears to be accepting the fact he might not be here next season. And then you just got some aging players throughout the squad, including a Cherby and Summer and Darmian and Mkhitaryan. So there's going to need to be signings made this summer, surely an attack, if nothing else. So as you think about strategy for this Mercato, Blue Nine, you posted on the forum just a projected, ideal squad for next season, and it included some pretty significant transfers. Do you want to maybe just run through that for the audience and tell them where your head is at from a signing standpoint?
Yeah, sure. Now, I think you mentioned the additional funds available to Inter possibly this summer. I mean, just to clarify, give some more information on that. I think the funds which are going to be available is because uh, with the expanded Champions League, Inter expected to make around 40 to 50 million pounds, euros more than they usually make from the Champions League. In fact, Inter has already made more than 100 million from the Champions League so far. And with the Club World Cup, would add another 40 to 50 million expected revenues into Inter. So we are looking at a additional cash inflow or income of around 100 million this year, which hopefully can be used to, or at least part of it can be used towards transfers. Now, from my preference point of view, I mean, like you very correctly said, Andrew, that we need to focus on strikers. Our attack is the key over here. We pretty much have only two functioning strikers in Thuram and Lotaro. And in my opinion, we need to buy one really, really good striker and one understudy. If we can't buy the understudy, we could, get Pio Esposito back or even use Taremi as the fourth striker. I don't mind that. But we need to get one top quality striker. And for me, that striker is Jonathan David, who's available on a free this summer if Inter can get him. But from what it looks like, Inter are probably going towards more towards Castro with this new philosophy of Oak Tree to focus on very young, low wage players. The other attacking player that I want Inter to focus on is attacking Mazzala. I mean, it's no secret that Inter will most likely sell Fratesi, who's not really working in the Inzaghi system. I think we have already bought Sucic, who probably will play that role, but we will need another. For me, I mean, I think we need another attacking midfielder in the Mazzara role to guarantee more success going forward. And I think my favorite there is Nico Paz. I think he will be a perfect fit in the Inzaghi system. If there's one player I want Inter to buy in this summer, it's Paz. Then, if we still have money, I would also like Inter to buy a Regista, a back, understudy for Janarolu, who we've seen this season. Whenever we miss Janarolu, he's injured or he's suspended. Aslani is not really cutting it as to rotate him or as his replacement. And my pick over there is Richie. I think.
No way. I'm just filling in for F1.
Okay. So my preference there would be Richie. So these are the three players that I want. And of course, we also need a defender. And there, I don't mind a low cost option. I kind of trust Morata and Co. to get the right person for us. They've been very good in getting the right defenders. So I'm easy on the defense. The two midfielders and the attack is what I think Inter should focus.
Yeah, I do want to start by discussing the attack because I definitely agree. It's the area that we need the most help in. It seems like Santiago Castro is the guy, and there's a few reasons why. One, apparently there were some just links between our Argentinian contingent and Castro. Two is he's already plays in the league, and we have Fabian on loan or with a buy option or something, which would make a transaction between us and Bologna more feasible. When you look at this guy's scoring record, it's actually is reasonably impressive. He scores with the right. He uses his right foot. He uses his left foot. He actually has a few headed goals, which is surprising because he has kind of that Lautaro build, which is a bit of a shorter stature. He's reasonably quick. Like I think there's a lot of positives of Castro. It's just a matter of would he get enough playing time to be satisfied in a role? And I think the answer is yes, because we were just playing in so many minutes this season. I've seen the physical toll it takes on Lautaro and Thuram. There's been a lot of minutes available this season. I think you'd be able to get Castro the time he needs at the club. Jay, what do you think of Castro? And obviously Gautam also mentioned Jonathan David. Do you have a preference between the two? Do you have price consideration where you consider one over the other? Like, how are you approaching attack this summer?
I'm taking Castro. I've never, ever been a Jonathan David guy. Never seen what it is with him. So I'm taking Castro. He really does seem like a Lautaro mini in that regard. Even got the same kind of spiky hair as Lautaro and all that. Yeah, there's something about him. There's a similar kind of grinta to the way he plays with Lautaro, this kind of headstrong bullishness with the way he plays. And, that's arguably Lautaro's kind of defining character, right? That's his biggest asset. And so it doesn't surprise me that they've gone for someone who's similar to Lautaro in that way. I still have some reservations about Castro, and not to say that he's like identical to Lautaro, because I don't think he is, but I feel like the similarities are striking. Like I said, not only the strengths, but some of the weaknesses too. I don't think he's as clinical as he could be or should be. And as we all know, that's long been the issue with Lautaro. Maybe the one thing holding him back from truly hitting that top 5 strikers in the world kind of echelon. And I feel like Castro maybe doesn't bring enough that's different to what Lautaro already offers. That would be one of the downsides to his transfer, but I still think I'd say he's worth the expenditure here. Gautam made an interesting point about bringing in an understudy. I actually think Castro could be that understudy. Rather than getting a top-level striker and an understudy, I think what's more likely is that the management get someone like Castro, who, like I said, is like a overdeveloped understudy in a way. And instead of having an elite striker to play ahead of him, they would just go for the cheaper alternative, which is to have a seasoned veteran as the 4th option. And I think that way they can kick to Remy. I'm taking Castro over Jonathan David, and I think the management will too. I don't think they're going to go for David.
And it's just worth pointing out that we've never seen a proper Mercato under Oak Tree, unless you want to count the winter Mercato. The summer was just awkward given the timing of everything, and who knows what they would even permit from a characteristic standpoint. They've been so fixated on younger players since they took control of ownership. Castro fits the mold as a result. Jonathan David is, I guess, old relative to Castro, so that might be another factor in his favor. The only thing I'd add, Jay, is that the one tool Castro has that Lautaro doesn't is Castro is much better at taking long shots. He has scored a couple goals from outside the box this year. I'm talking 25, 26-yard goals, where it seems like he can let one fly and pull a goal out of nothing, the way Lautaro just isn't capable of doing so. So that'd be the one characteristic I'd look forward to him having. But the argument in favor of Jonathan David, the argument in favor of someone other than Castro is we need some pace and attack, and I don't think Castro is that, where Jonathan David definitely is. Miko, do you have a preference between these two?
It's hard to say. I was just looking Jonathan David's stats at Lille, and gotta say they are pretty impressive. He has over 100 goals at Lille. Okay, he has 224 games, but still that's quite a number. Champions League, he has 10 goals in 18 matches, including 7 this season. So I think these guys are like it's a bit what the management wants, how they wanna approach the next season and the coming seasons, in a sense that do they want this guy who knows how to score goals, like really knows how to score, and he has played in kind of big matches or Champions League matches and so on. I believe they won the League One a few years back. So I guess
Yeah, that's right.
he's kind of he has one title also in his belt. So I don't know, hard to say. I guess I would also lean towards Castro because he's just 20 years old, low wages. Of course, the kind of the transfer fee is a lot bigger than what David is. Free transfer, but there's bonuses coming to agent and so on. But anyway, Castro is kind of more costly in that sense. But maybe there's, I don't know, maybe there's more potential. I don't know. I'm not a scout. I can't really say about potential, but I feel that there's something in Castro that he could fit really well. He has this one year experience in the league, so that's in my books that's always like a positive, like an added bonus when comparing players. Maybe David would kind of struggle in Serie A compared to League One. Maybe the defending is a bit different, and so on. So I would also lean towards Castro, even though the rumors lately indicate that Bologna would be asking like 40 million, which is quite a lot given how many goals this guy has, how much he has played or like the experience in general. But let's see. Maybe there's like you mentioned the Fabian deal or the case plays in our hand here, and maybe the cost is not that high really, because then there would be kind of discussions like where should we put our money if Castro is that expensive. But yeah, Castro is my guy if I had to pick.
Yeah. So, Miko, I mean, just to back your point, from a cost point of view, I don't think there will be much difference between Jonathan David and Castro. In fact, Jonathan David might turn out to be a more expensive option because he will come at a very, very high wage. And when you look at the total wages over the length of the contract, maybe for Jonathan David it'll be 70, 80 million. And that will be the key differentiation. And the second point is from a cost point of view, Castro, since he's 4 or 5 years younger to Jonathan David, who's 25, he will have a much better resale value. So you can recover or even make a profit on his sale. Whereas if Jonathan David comes on a 5-year contract, I mean, even though Jonathan David is still quite young at 25, the resale value might not be that high. So from a cost point of view, if you purely look at it, I think Castro is a better option and probably more suited to Oaktree's current strategy. And I do agree with Uni over here. I mean, what I said about the transfers, that's what I want to happen at Inter, and I can see they will have the funds to achieve that. But I don't think they will spend. I think Uni is right. I mean, Jay is right. They are not going to spend the money. I think they will go for a very sustainable model, like Maruta just said in an interview. They're going to go for a very low cost summer transfer, which none of us are going to like.
With Irfan gone and us no longer being shackled into false modesty, we can talk freely about Aslani's lack of future at this club and how he needs to be replaced. So being able to speak freely now, Jay, what are you thinking for the midfield? Obviously, there are the Nico Paz rumors that won't go away, but I will say I have no optimism regarding the Nico Paz transfer. When I read these reports from various media outlets and Ancelotti quotes and everything going on, it just doesn't seem like a realistic target for me. So as you look at the midfield, we need a Mkhitaryan replacement, which Paz would be. We need a Regista to replace Aslani. Well, are there any names you like? Is there anything you'd like to see us add characteristic wise? Like, what are you looking for out of the midfield?
It's hard to say. I agree that the Paz angle doesn't sound too promising right now. I think his own dad came out and said, or downplayed all this, all these dinners with Zanetti by saying, "Oh, it's just because me and Zanetti used to be roommates at the national team and all this kind of stuff." I mean, look, obviously we don't expect him to say, "Yes, I'm working on a deal to send my son to Inter, and that's why I'm spending time with the vice president," obviously. But I don't know. I don't get this impression that mystical allure of Javier Zanetti is working miracles to sway young Nico's mind right now. It looks like Real Madrid have some indication of wanting to keep him. So obviously the ball's in their court. And Nico Paz's father even said that Nico might be keen to stay another year at Como, develop further. So if that's the case, then that's clearly an indication of just what that means is they're prioritizing his development in an environment where he's playing every single game as a star player, and then see what bigger options await them in a year's time. That's what that means. So if they wanted to move to Inter, then that's probably not going to be congruent with that strategy of staying for another year. At the same time, can I just say I really don't like these Arda Güler rumors. I just feel like he's not the kind of player we need, although he certainly does have more technique in his pinky toe than the rest of our squad put together. Positionally and functionally, I don't think he's the right player for us. And his flashy style of playing, where he kind of yields one sick goal every 2 months, like that can be supported at Real Madrid as a bench player. If he comes to Inter, it's not going to be supported, or rather, we're going to need more from him. And I don't think he's yet of the substance to deliver more. At the risk of saying something slightly controversial, I find that most Turkish players are kind of similar build. That's why you don't see a lot of Turkish players succeeding at the top level of Europe. Hakan is one of the rare ones that have not just the technicality, but the mettle and the mindset to succeed at elite European clubs. Because there's plenty of exceedingly technically excellent Turkish footballers out there. There always has been. But again, just considering how good they are, technically speaking, so few of them make it outside of Turkey or in like the big leagues, I think that midfield's a tough spot, because I don't think we have the funds to make wholesale replacements. I think realistically, Asllani will end up staying. I think the club is in a difficult position with him, where they've already sunk way too much time into him, and admittedly he has developed a bit. Now I for one don't think he's developed anywhere near enough as he should have, even though he hasn't played much, and I think he's been given far more time than he deserves. I feel like far better players have come and gone over the years who deserved more chances than Asllani ever received, but that's another story for another day. But we just don't have the money to replace everyone, and I don't trust in this management to make as many whole stock changes as we need to make, because as you mentioned, there's so much that needs to change. There's defenders. De Vrij and Acerbi are both old as fuck. Damian's old as fuck. Mkhitaryan is old as fuck. Sommer's old. Sommer might be replaced by Martinez. We don't have any replacement for De Vrij and Acerbi, unless the strategy is to play Bisek in the centre, which I don't think that's something Inzaghi's keen on right now. And I don't think Bisek is defensively good enough to play in the centre either. And so there's a gaping hole in the centre of defence. It looks like both Fratesi and Zielinski are going down the flop route at this stage. I'm especially disappointed in Zielinski. I know he was coming off a bit of a decline in his time at Napoli, but I was really hoping he could kind of pick it up, and he has not. Despite showing some glimpses of quality here and there, he hasn't lived up to the billing. So that leaves us exactly where we left off last time, which is with Barella, Hakan, and Mkhitaryan as our only reliable midfielders, right? So there's a lot of work to be done there as well. And then you throw in the whole striker situation we've just been talking about. It's a lot of work to be done. It's going to be a really, really difficult Mercato, and it might have some kind of make or break implications for our next season.
Miko, I'll give you the final word here. Anything you want to call out from a summer Mercato standpoint that you're interested in, or is there a player you really want to sign? Just, you can put the final word.
Who I really want to sign, I really want to sign Nico Paz, but as it's been discussed already, it's probably much harder than what the kind of rumors have indicated, even though, like mentioned, the latest rumors indicate Como and Real will kind of continue their business, and Paz would stay at Como, but not sure if that's best for the player. Maybe it is, but if he's more ambitious, he might want to play in Champions League already. But yeah, what would I say? there's indeed a lot of kind of needs all over the place: defense, midfield, forwards, and maybe the forwards, as said by you guys, is most important. We already have one guy for the summer, this Croatian kid, Petar Susic, and I think he might kind of surprise everyone that he could fit better than, for example, Frattesi in terms of being more skilled and maybe have better kind of positioning, and that kind
Better
of game.
passing.
Bathing, yeah, that too. Uh, and he's also actually a bit taller than any of our midfielders. That's kind of a nice, important detail, since we are pretty good in set pieces, and adding these taller guys is a nice one. Kind of keep going with the set pieces, but also in the kind of in a midfield battles, when there's a lot of aerial battles always in midfield. So adding this kind of guy there hopefully helps in that sense. Even though of course, he's young, he's not that maybe not that bulky yet, but maybe later he's going to be kind of a nice all-around midfielder. And yeah, I've been thinking about the defense. As said, we have like a limited resources anyway. So would it be that we end up keeping both Acerbi and De Vrij? I've been thinking that because during the season I had the opinion that okay, when Acerbi was out, like okay, we can't go on like this. We need to do something about our central defense. Now when Acerbi is back, it feels like okay, this is going pretty good, but we know that it's probably going to get worse, especially with the injuries. It was well said that the Mercato will be difficult because there's so many holes which need to be filled, and I think we don't have the funds to fill all of them. One thing is for example the Aslani. Do we end up keeping him because we just can't replace him? That's one issue there. The wing backs, what's going to happen there? We have nice starting wing backs, but what about the rotation guys? Maybe Zalewski will be redeemed, but then the right side, what happens there? There's so much to do, and I don't know. It's going to be, well, in a sense, it's kind of interesting and exciting, but at the same time, it's a bit kind of, well, not scary, but almost like what it's going to be for the next season and the coming seasons. What's happening this summer?
No surprise, Miko's advocating for keeping a 38-year-old just entering the prime of his career, right, Miko?
Right. But yeah, I'm sending Serbia away just because of the injury scares. I think he missed like I don't know. Did he miss like few months, many months this season already? On the other hand, he's so good. He's just so good that I don't know how we are really going to replace his impact on pitch impact, but maybe off the pitch as well. So it's a bit of a balancing thing. What's going to happen? I feel that we are going to be worse in the defense, at least in the start of next season, if Acerbi won't be there.
I am team move on from Acerbi. I agree that he has been excellent at times this season, but he's just too old. When these types of players fall off a cliff, and when they fall, it tends to be fast. And if you renew Acerbi for anything other than extremely low risk wages, you're just asking for trouble. Like this isn't a necessarily fair comparison, but it's a lot like Quadrado last season, where when you sign a player who is this old, who's going to need to rely on physical traits, the drop off is going to come eventually. And if you're not properly prepared, you're going to be left holding the bag. So if Acerbi is willing to come back and be like the sixth center back option, where you only use him when necessary, I'm fine with that. But you can't go into next season relying on this guy for anything more than 2 matches a month.
Would you then send De Vrij away and then buy this kind of new starting center back, or what's this scenario you are looking at?
My ideal scenario is you send away a Cherby, you do not renew him, you keep De Vrij on a renewal, and you sign a younger center back who splits time with De Vrij.
Right.
Okay, let's do a quick talk about Udinese. I don't think anyone wants us to break down the 10th place team in the league. They're about Milan's level in terms of quality this season. I will say that if you look at like underlying metrics, basically any metric available tells you that this Udinese team is overperforming and they are higher in the table than they should be. They don't score a lot of goals. They play at an incredibly slow pace. They also don't concede a lot of goals. They just play in a lot of low-scoring slugfests. Inter have actually been linked a little bit. You know how international breaks are. You get linked to any player who like remotely is a possibility when you're a club like Inter. We've been linked to their leading scorer, Lorenzo Luca, who I am not a fan of at all. He's actually away on international break with Italy right now. He is your classic, like, taller striker with close to no technical abilities. So I am a hard no on Luca for the record. But yeah, this is a bit of a tough nut to crack, Udinese. They're compact defensively. Like I said, they don't score a lot. They also don't concede a lot. I don't think we need to do individual breakdowns of what we're looking for in the Udinese match, but maybe we can skip to doing some predictions. So, Jay, I'll let you lead off with your Udinese prediction.
Is it a home game or away?
We are at home.
Luckily, it's a home game, yeah.
Okay, then 1-1.
Were you going to predict a loss if it was away?
No, I'll leave that to the imagination. No, I think home game, our record against Udinese is pretty good, but I think coming from an international break and given the kind of opponent that Udinese are, I'm not expecting a spectacular game. I'll gladly take a 2-0 win. If we can keep a clean sheet, then I'll be quite impressed. Even though Udinese are not a high-scoring team, games against them always seem tense for whatever reason. I also hate Luca. I think he's just like a F-grade Luca Toni, or a C-grade Graziano Pele minus the devastating good looks. So really not sold on Luca. I remember when Florian Thauvin was like some wonder kid from, where was he from?
Marseille, was it?
Yeah, I'm getting him confused with Julian Draxler at Schalke, but nevertheless, I remember when Thauvin was a hot prospect in France as well, and obviously things did not pan out for him. But he
was really good once.
Yeah. But anyway, now at this stage in his career, he seems to have found a home in Udinese, so happy for him. But I think he's like their new Dale Lefeu, you know what I mean? Like they kind of one technical player who can cause teams problems every now and again. So if we can keep a lid on Thauvin, then I think we're good. I'll take a 2-0 with goals from, I guess, National Lautaro's not even going to play, is he? I'll take a goal from Arnautovic and a goal from Barella.
Yeah, Thauvin was like legitimately good when he was at Marseille, and then he inexplicably moved to Mexico. I don't really know the story of what happened there, but he's a good player. He also is horrible at taking penalties, from what I recall. So maybe we can get somewhere to actually save a penalty for once. Gautam, what's your prediction for Inter-Udinese next weekend?
Oh, I'm hoping for a easy win where we don't go into too much of the Inter craziness in the last 15-20 minutes. But it's a tough one because Miko and Jay said, it's one right after the international break. We have some very, very key injuries and suspensions in Dumfries, Lautaro, and it's so anything can happen. But I'm quite confident now that Thuram is fit and now that our wingbacks are fit that we're going to win this one. But I think Inter being Inter, they're going to give us a few heart attacks on the way. So I'll go for 1-0 as a prediction.
And who's the scorer?
I'm now talking purely for my fantasy team. Please let it be Dumfries.
All right, we'll allow it. Miko?
Well, 1-0 was by my take as well. I think it will be like a dirty win, a bit like few weeks ago when we won Genoa barely. It's the after international break which is usually the tough one. Although now it's a bit different since we have like more than usual guys not in the break and nursing their injuries, which is not a great thing either. But in a sense, they can focus at least mentally on this match. And I think it will be a tough one. They are not a flashy team, but they can somewhat defend, and I think they drew with Napoli like 2 weeks ago, or was it 3 weeks ago? I remember we played fairly well against them usually in our home match, but I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. I'm going to also give the goal to Ornatovic, although I saw that he injured himself a bit in the international match, but hopefully he's going to be fine because Lautaro will be out. Taremi, well, let's hope he doesn't play. He didn't play for Iran at all. I don't know. maybe they are dropping him apparently because he's sucked so much this season.
Bro isn't even good enough for Iran anymore.
Yeah. Damn it. But yeah, Arnautovic is going to save us.
Mako once again putting faith in people over the age of 35. Nothing to see here. I'll go ahead and say 3-0 Asllani hat-trick in honor of Irfan. That's his boilerplate prediction. Asllani actually did score last time we played Udinese. But yeah, no, I'm with the consensus here. This has 1-0 written all over it. It won't be pretty. It will actually be rather ugly. Give me a Thuram goal since he is our only striker capable of putting the ball in the back of the net. So Jay's hot betting tips. I believe last week you gave us a preview of Milan Napoli in addition to your prediction Inter would lose 7-0 on aggregate to Bayern. So what about an Atalanta-Fiorentina shout, Jay?
I also said Italy would lose 3-1 to Germany. They lost 2-1, so I was close. What were you after, Fiorentina and who?
Atalanta.
Fiorentina, Atalanta. I'm feeling a 2-2. I feel like both teams are in good scoring form. Both teams, of course, destroyed Juventus back-to-back, a team that we couldn't score against if our lives depended on it. Anyway, let's not go down that road again. I'll take a 2-2.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us for this week. Gautam, thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on the pod.
Thanks for inviting me. This was good fun.
All right, Miko, send us off.
All right, Forza Inter and see you later.